Good morning. Good morning. How are we all doing? I am really excited for today's show. We've actually got a couple of guests with us. We've got Katie Sheehan, who's going to be joining us every Thursday. She is our built-in legal hotline. We appreciate you, Katie. And we've got a first-time guest today with us, a really good friend of mine. Who's been a service provider, but probably more of a friend as the relationship has grown. And that's Dave Dambrov from Dambrov Appraisals. So it's the first time we've had an appraiser on the show. And if I was going to pick one, Dave, it'd always be you, man. You've been my go-to for years. I'd love for you to just introduce yourself a little bit, kind of when you got started, how long you've been doing this, maybe why you got into doing appraisals, because most of us would probably want to put a needle in our eye before we were appraisers. So yeah, talk to us.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on. I am a certified residential appraiser. I've been an appraiser here in Western Massachusetts for 18 years now. I got certified in 2007. I did a few years before that training. I'm licensed in both Massachusetts and Connecticut. And yeah, how I got into this crazy business is I started out like you in a rental agent position in the Boston area. Did a couple condo sales, moved to mortgages for a little bit. And then when I moved back to this area, I always enjoyed talking to the appraisers. When I was doing mortgages, when you could talk to the appraisers, I know you can't do that anymore. And I just decided to go down that path. And it's been great. I mean, the market's changed. I mean, the market's always changing, but the appraisal industry changed just as I was being certified in 2007. But, we've weathered the storm and just moved forward.
Well, I even learned a little bit of something. I didn't realize how much different experience you have, right? So you've done kind of the three major parts to the business, done a little bit of mortgage, done some sales, and then done the appraisal stuff. So it's really cool. I think it obviously gives you a lot of perspective of what it's like to be on our side. So, I did pre-call ask you to just kind of come up with a couple of different topics that you think would be good value add for our agents. So what do you got for us?
I guess like I was trying to rack my brain and there's the usual property characteristics that a lot of agents reach out to me on, which I can talk about that as well. Some kind of big ticket items that I've come across in the last few years is discrepancy with public records. Um, like more, let's say multifamilies. Like for example, Springfield is notorious for saying something is a three-family and it's really a two-family when you go down to the building department. So the public record will say three-family, maybe prior listings say three-family, the owner's probably saying three-family. But when you go down to the building department, it's actually a two-family. And I actually had two transactions 2 years ago within a few months of each other where everything was moving forward as a three-family, went under agreement as a three-family, and the appraiser came back as a two-family. So one, it was a surprise. The other one, they kind of had a feeling that that was going to happen. But I guess I just wanted to do a public service announcement. If you have any questions or you see any anomalies, the building department is the kind of usually the end all of determining what the legal use of is for the property. And
Well, why don't maybe one thing as you're talking about that that's coming to mind for me, Dave, maybe walk through the process as an appraiser. What are the steps that you do from start to finish? The order comes in to I'm
Mhm.
submitting my appraisal. What are the different places that you're looking, things that you're doing? I mean, obviously we know you're going to the property and
It's a good one to go to. They're just pulling usually information from the city assessor. So I'll also go there and verify their information, just get a preview of the property, try to identify what I'm working on. Then I'll reach out to the contacts and schedule a time to view the property. And that includes going to the property, doing an exterior, interior inspection, walking through the entire property, all floors, basement, attic. And then as I'm going through, I'll try to see if there's any anomalies, just see something that might just stick out. To go back to those multifamilies that I was talking about, the first one when I was going through, I just saw 2 electric services. So that just kind of threw out to me like, I don't know if this third level is actually a legal third unit. So I went down to the building, and then after that, if I see that, then I will go down to the building department and just ask for the permit file. It's just a new simple question. Say, can I take a look at your permit file? And then you can kind of go through it. And if you need to talk to the building inspector to kind of translate some stuff for you, they'll be happy to do that. And then I go back after getting
while you're at the property, Dave, are you taking measurements? Right? Let's say public record says the property is 1,500 square feet. Are you actually measuring that property and you're like, oh no, it's 1,400 square feet? Or
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes,
you're taking measurements while you're out there.
Yeah, I forgot that part. As appraisers, we are supposed to do exterior measurements of the house if they're available. So we take exterior measurements of the outside of the house, and then I go back and I sketch those measurements out into a sketch for the lender or client. I think I lost you.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Okay.
So that's getting submitted along with the comps as part of the appraisal, is the sketch that you did.
Yes. So what I submit with the report is a sketch. I submit photos of all the rooms, the exterior, all sides of the house, attic, basement, photos of the comparables. They want maps of the comparables, where they're located in relation to the subject property, flood information. Is it in a flood zone? Aerial map. What's it from a top-down view? Is there a water tower next door? Is there power lines going down the side of the property? The lender wants to see that. Any influences on the site of the property. I submit the deed showing the most recent owner. Just basically just an encapsulated photograph of the property on that day I was there, the effective date, which is of that property.
All right. So you collect everything. You're at the, you're at the building. You take your photos. You do your measurements. You go back to your house. What are you doing to make sure that that value comes in for us as agents? I mean, what are you doing as far as the comps?
Well, I mean, I'm just researching the market area and trying to find the most recent comparables. Ideally a mirror image of the house I'm appraising, but we're in New England, so there's a lot of different houses, a lot of variations. So ideally just trying to find the most recent sales of the most similar property that I'm appraising. Basically, it's like a substitution method. Like what property would a typical buyer substitute for the one that I'm looking at? So I try to find some substitute properties and include those in the sales comparison analysis, and then adjust accordingly.
And do you always know what the purchase and sale number is?
We are required to review the contract and give any information on that. We have to tell the lender if it's a non-arm's length transaction, if it's an arm's length transaction, which non-arm's length is typically like family members transferring, or it's always a known, the parties know each other before, basically, type thing. So we do that.
Yeah. And so what are you doing, to make sure, because at the end of the day, you're working for the bank, not for the agents,
Yes.
right? So what are you doing hey, I know that the purchase and sale is 400,000, right? I mean, seems like to me, it's going to be difficult to make it super objective as far as what the comps are coming in when you kind of know you got a number over here that the parties have agreed on. So you're pulling your comps and everything, and then it's let's say 20,000, let's say you're coming in 20,000 more. Do you start to question yourself, or you just submit it 20,000 more? This is what I think my number is like. And the same thing when it's less, you know, is it every time it's less? Do you call the agents, or are you just like, I'm not even calling, like it's less, I'm submitting. So just maybe walk us through, it comes in lower in your mind, it comes in higher in your mind. Does anything change, or do you just submit?
I mean, typically we're just supposed to be talking to the client or the client's representatives about value, and they do stress that in their order forms. I will call up if I'm just seeing a discrepancy. I may call up and just ask some questions, you know, on the lower side generally, or even higher side too. Just say, I might have some questions just about the property. What comps were they looking at? Am I missing any property characteristics or anything having to do with the property that I'm not aware of? And just maybe try and get some more information. Um, we're not supposed to hit a target.
Yeah.
We're supposed to give an opinion of value of what the property is worth on that effective date. There's it's sometimes it is there's certain times of year, there's certain times when the market's really hot where it, people are just outbidding each other, or they really want the price, trying to determine, how much of it is emotion, and then what is the opinion of value that I can support on an appraisal form, or with adequate comparables.
Cool.
I don't
Well,
know if that
there's a
makes.
lot to digest there. Well, let's just open the floor. Who's got questions for Dave?
I put a couple things in the chat, Steve.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah. All right. Yeah, so can the property get turned over from 2 to a 3 family after your assessment? So are you just saying in general, can we convert it, Sue, or is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, so if the city says it's a 2-family and the seller is saying it's a 3-family, is there something that can be, bring to
Yeah,
light?
I can take that one. So absolutely, right? So we can convert most properties as long as the zoning is okay, right? You can't, if it's zoned for 2 families, you can't just convert it to a 3. But if you've got the correct zoning, then you just got to do whatever the building department's going to want you to do to make it legal units. Right. So in Dave's case, where he had only 2 electrical panels, maybe we need to add a third electrical panel to make sure we've got separate electricity up there. Maybe we got to add a second egress to that 3rd floor apartment. Maybe we got to separate out some other utilities. So it's just a matter of going to the building department and asking what they want done. Right. And they're going to give you
Also,
their, yeah.
does he, when it's a multifamily, does he go into every unit to assess the property?
Yes, I'm required to go into all the units, take photos of all the rooms. I even have, if I sometimes there's sleeping tenants and I can't take a photo, the lender will say, you got to go. They make me go back and I take a picture of that bedroom. So the lender, if it's for a mortgage finance transaction, they want to see every room that they're lending on, and the condition of it. So yes, go into all the units, which can
Amber,
be
I see
tricky.
your hand up.
Yeah, I had several listings more in 2021, 22, early 23, where I've gotten calls back months later from the appraiser questioning things, and never understood why. Sometimes it's, do you think it was appraised properly, things like that. And it was directly from the appraiser. And it's happened about 4 or 5 times. I'm just wondering what the reasoning was.
Was this the from the appraiser that completed the appraisal on the property, or were they just is it because sometimes appraisers are doing their own research on the market and they may just have some questions about the sale, um, just to try and just derive some information on the
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure on all of them, but several of them were the actual appraiser, just calling back So I don't know if the bank maybe was questioning it. I don't know. I was just wondering if you've had that happen a lot.
No, I can't say I've called someone back after a few months later regarding an appraisal I've completed, unless, you know, the mortgage companies do sell the loans to other investors, and sometimes questions will pop up on that, but that's usually more like paperwork type stuff.
Yeah, where I've seen it, Amber,
Makes
is
sense.
that, they're thinking about using your sale as a comp for the current appraisal that
Yes.
they're doing. And they're just going, hey, you know what, in the photos, I don't see this, but maybe it
Yeah.
had that. So just, hey, did it have this? Because I want to use this, right? I'm thinking about using it for this appraisal, right? So a lot of times I think that's when I've gotten the calls back. Yeah. KB.
Yeah. So just that kind of out of curiosity, Dave, how much how much consideration do you give to supply and demand issues, right? Because we're in like I'm going to be putting another a house on the market, and right now like there's 12 houses on the market in this specific town, and if I look back 6 months to a year at comparables, there's really not anything that's super comparable to the property that I'm putting on. But the sellers of the property, they've been talking to their friends, and these people are throwing numbers out there that it's not like I can't find a comparable that would support those numbers, right? So if we were to bring it to market and I wind up with a ton of offers on this property, all significantly higher than what I'm thinking its value is, how much do you take into account, like supply and demand? Because if a buyer's willing to pay that amount, does that make sense?
No, it does.
Especially,
And,
especially if you got multiple buyers, right, Dave? Right now, the market, right? We don't have any comps, but the market's changed a little bit. I got 3 buyers willing to pay this. And if buyers are willing to pay it, that's the value of that property. I think that's kind of what she's getting at.
right. And
Yeah.
this time of the, we're going into my toughest time of the year just to do research. And I know like people come out into the spring market with just guns blazing. They're just like, I'm gonna, offer this, offer that. And it's just sometimes we just don't have the comps. But I will say I tend to go back in time, 12 months. I mean, I look at the whole market as a whole. Um, but I'll try to find, depending where it is, maybe something a little recent but a little farther away, or just I do take those into consideration. It's just it just might be more research. I submitted in the last few weeks uh, a couple of appraisals with some comps over uh, 12 months. They were 14 months ago. Just because there was just such limited data in general in that area. But I wanted to show I had some similar properties that also sold. So
Right. So I guess
yeah.
so. Second kind of part to that question is,
Well,
is it
hold on, KB. I want to stay on that. So Dave, let's say you've got a couple of comps, right? They're 6 months ago, but the market's picking up. How much can you go? Can you go plus 3%, plus 6%, plus 10% because of a market acceleration? That was kind of the first part. Let's say the comps are there. Let's say it's not a comp issue. We've got some houses there, but it's just they were 6 months ago, and over the last 6 months, the market has accelerated. How
Yeah.
much
So
leeway do you have there?
we have to provide our work, and actually as of February 4th, anyone applying for a mortgage after February 4th, they are really cracking down on market adjustments for appraisers. So we really have to show our work. We really have to show in detail. If we're making time adjustments, we have to show what the markets. We have some different ways that we do that. But we just have to show our work. We can't just come out with an adjustment. So, I mean, in the end, it goes on to a form. We have to show our work. It has to go through. I know I listened to a little bit of a show yesterday with the Semper Home loan representatives, and they were talking about that Fannie Mae system. and everything's got to be fed through that too. So that throws up flags with comparables and this and that as well. So I don't know if that.
Yeah. I mean, give me a percentage though. Can you go plus or minus 3%, over 5%? Like what's like, hey,
For like time adjustments or
yeah,
over.
for
Yeah, I
market
mean,
adjustment.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do time adjustments if you can show the work that it's that the market is showing that increase. Then you can make time adjustments and you know, again, the lender will want to see some recent comparable data to like show that that's happening. And
Right. And we could do that, or you could do that by saying, hey, here's a ranch that sold 6 months ago. It's 1,000 square feet. Here's another ranch in that town. It's 1,000 square feet. It sold for 10% more 6 months later. Matter of fact, I got 3 that sold for 10% more. So I can show on these other properties in the town that they sold for 10% more. It's just on this one, it's a 4,000 square foot colonial. I don't have one from 6 months ago, but had there been one, I would assume it would have reacted the same way that these 1,000 square foot ranches did, which is a 10% increase. Like that's how you're talking about time adjustment.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I thought I saw another hand. Maybe it went down. Maybe we answered your question. Anybody else have something for Dave? Or KB, did you have a second part?
But this is the toughest time of year right now, the comps.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the second part is, I guess the simplified way I've always sort of looked at an appraisal is kind of like what a ready, willing, and able buyer would pay in any given market, right? So is it helpful for an appraiser if you're in a situation where properties are selling obviously above asking because of limited supply, for agents to be giving you or showing you that there is proof of multiple offers? Is that something that you're asking for? Just kind of curious.
Yes, I am asking about multiple offer situations. I've even had agents show me different offers. Again, the one caveat with appraisals is that we're always historical. We're looking in the past. So, you know, a lot of times the agent will say, oh, this one around the corner is I talked to the agent and it's under agreement for $30,000 higher above the listing price. We can include it as a pending sale, but we can't kind of hinge our value on it because it hasn't sold yet. So that's kind of the issue we run into the next couple months. It's like the market's kind of being established. So it just takes more work, you know, doing more research into the market movements.
I think I know the answer on this question, Dave, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is it appraiser dependent on whether you guys appreciate an agent submitting comps to you, or do you think, you know, like a lot of times I would like to be able to give the comps, hey, Dave, here's what I used, why we listed it here, you know, do your thing. But I'm just so they don't get missed, what are your thoughts on doing that to help an appraiser?
It can be viewed as trying to influence the appraiser and the value. I mean, I do my own work. It's generally could be viewed as influencing the appraiser and the appraised value. I guess is the statement.
Yeah.
But I will call up and again ask what comps they may have used, or you know, if I have any questions regarding the data.
All right. Any final questions for Dave? All right. We do have Katie on. I know we're up against the hour here. Did anybody have anything on the legal side? Apologize, we didn't get you some airtime today, Katie, but appreciate you being on.
I'm going to save all my stuff for next week.
That's what you got. Did anybody have anything on the legal side? Might just be, hey, I got an issue going on a purchase and sale, or just random question. All right, you are off the hook.
I actually have a question for Dave, though, if that's
All right,
possible.
let's do it.
How often do you end up going back and changing your appraisal value that you come up with? So if you come up with a number, you give it out there, and I know we kind of danced around this a little bit, but if someone comes up and says, hey, I think this is really low, and this is why I think it's low, how often do you go back and actually your assessed value is and go back in and reevaluate it? And then if you do, how often does that actually change the value, or do you usually keep your opinion of what it was?
It doesn't really happen much. Maybe a few times a year. Sometimes I do get questions regarding the value, and the agents pulling comps from all over Kingdom Come to get that value. But I generally don't have it too much. I have changed sometimes. I know you're talking about that Fannie Mae firewall yesterday, and I had one a few months ago where I ended up having to change it, change my value, just because it just the comps were far away, so I had to just drop it a little bit to appease the system, basically, I think. But I don't. It doesn't happen a ton where I change my value. I mean, I don't know.
And that one that you're talking about, Dave, is a system forced scenario, but there is an appeal process, right? If you
Right.
submit, right? But does the appeal always come back to you, or is it like, right? Is that the first part of an appeal? So you submit your appraisal. I'm the agent or working with the lender. We don't think it's accurate. We want to fight it.
Mhm.
Is the first line of defense, we go back to you and see if we can get you to change your number, or is it always like, just, hey, if you don't think my number's right, you guys can go hire another appraiser for another opinion? Does it come back to you first, or does it go to somebody else immediately?
So in between me and the lender, there's all these different firewalls. So generally, there's an AMC, which is an appraisal management company. So they handle the appeal process generally. So they might have a form that the agents would fill out, that would usually ask, what are the discrepancies in the report? Are there any additional comps that we can look at, or the appraiser can look at? And usually that form is forwarded to me in some shape or form. So
And
I'll look
then,
at the comp and I'll give
right,
my
and then
comp.
you could say, that's great, these aren't,
Right,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. And I'll give my explanation. I'll be like, oh,
Yep.
this is 10 miles away.
Yep.
Or,
So if that fit, but you also could go, you know what? I missed that one. That's a great comp,
I've
right?
had that happen too.
Yep, I think they're right. We got to change it to this. And so then the process would be, you would literally revise it. They're
Yeah.
okay with it, and we move forward.
Yep. Yeah.
And then if you don't agree, now their only option would be to hire a second appraisal or appraiser, or get another opinion of value, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the lender will allow that.
If the lender will allow it, right? Cool. Well, great question, Katie. Good stuff today, Dave. I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you'll join us, maybe I'm thinking once a month to get you on and just, get your thoughts, what's changing on the appraisal side. I know we had a bunch of other stuff that we could have talked about today, so we'll save that for the next time. And we'll wrap it up like we always do, guys. Let me just share what the additional trainings are available today. February 20th, we got the new Agent Starter Series. We got Facebook Ads 201. So obviously there is a 101 class there if you want to jump in on those. Real Agent Society, Conversations to Closings Mastermind, and top systems and tools for generating referrals. So 5 different opportunities to level up your game today. Take a training, come back, and share what you learned. Lauren, I do see that you put in the chat, we do have our CRM training today. That is our pipeline review. Lauren does that every single Thursday. It's one of the better trainings that we do here locally, but anybody from any brokerage is welcome to join, where we're literally having you open up your CRM, showing us the leads that you have, showing us the follow-up that you've done, and then making suggestions on what you could have done to maybe better follow up with that lead to help with your conversion ratios. So feel free to join that one. That's it, guys. This is an awesome call. Appreciate you as always, and we'll do it one more time tomorrow morning. Take care.